And now,
from Greater Sandton and beyond, get ready for the Sandton Times Hour
with your host,
Alexander. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between and beyond, welcome to the Sandton Times Hour. It's edition 210. It's week 35 of 2025. I'm Alexander Leipner, and a very special welcome to you if you're listening for the very first time, or if you are a regular listener to the show across Johannesburg and Pretoria, across South Africa, and across the world, wherever you are, online or on air. I'm happy to report that all is well in Sandton land, especially as the temperatures start rising and we start segueing into spring. Vincenzo is back behind the mixing desk, my trusted engineer, all things sound. And we've been working on a couple of tweaks to the show. So let's see how that sounds this week. And most of all, I hope to hear from you. If you like it, if you think the show is sounding better and improved, because we've always got a work in progress here as the hours unfold. Congratulations to the Springboks this past weekend, a redeeming win against Australia. And I managed to catch the rugby at Melrose Arch. They had a really cool fan zone that they set up. If you book at one of the restaurants around that fan zone, they've kind of got like a square. I ended up going to the grill house, and they always serve up some really magnificent fare, and you can catch all the action in the best possible way, very comfortable, well catered for. And ironically, although I found myself in Johannesburg watching the rugby, but I'd actually flown back from Cape Town that morning as I had an appointment at the new Saxon Spa this weekend as well at Stain City. I didn't want to miss that, and went to go check that out. And if you haven't looked into that, well, put that on your list of things to do, only if you enjoy a bit of pampering. If you don't enjoy pampering, might not be for you. But certainly a great new addition to the spa lineup in Greater Sandton. I was in Cape Town for the launch of the new MG3, the new compact hatchback from MG Motors. It's now available in a petrol and hybrid model, so I got a chance to review that and drive it around the better parts of the Western Cape, and the review is up on the website if you want to see what this car looks like and how it handles. But also, whilst I was there, I had a chance to check out the recently opened Canopy by Hilton Cape Town Longkloof Hotel, which is in a really great spot off Kloof Street. Easy access to restaurants, shops. There's some great new additional eateries and attractions opening in and around that place. I must tell you, Cape Town is absolutely pumping. I mean, there is construction and new things coming on a weekly basis. It is really, really impressive. But the hotel itself is gorgeous, very artistic, very different. Certainly one of the nicer hotels I've stayed in quite some time, and well worth a stay. And there's some more additions in terms of developments coming in and around the hotel. So definitely keeping an eye out on that one. And we're going to be putting something up on the website pretty soon as well. Well, that's my diary for this week. But what are we going to be covering in the show, you might ask? In a bit, I'll be chatting to an author we've had on the show before about his latest book that'll help you hack, fast track, and hopefully improve the way you live and work. Take a listen for that. Then I bring you an interview with the producer of a new South African movie on Amazon Prime right now. It's called Cop and a Half. Stick around for that chat. As always, I then catch up with our regular entertainment commentator to chat all things entertainment, and we'll be diving into the return of physical media. And finally, I chat to the winner of a fitness title who goes to show that it's never too late to get into shape, especially as the summer months head our way. There's some more coming up, and also I'd like to hear from you. If you'd like to get in touch to send through your questions, comments, or feedback, you can do so. You can email editor@sandtontimes.co.za. You can connect on social media @Sandton Times, and also hop onto the website www.sandtontimes.co.za. And if you're not part of our podcast community as yet, be sure to subscribe to the Sandton Times Hour on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, AfriPods, Podcast Party, or wherever you find great podcasts. And make sure that you follow, like, and share.
You're listening to the Sandton Times Hour.
Douglas Kruger, award-winning speaker and author of over a dozen books, is back with his latest work, Wicked Smart, a book that distills decades of breakthroughs in behavioral economics into a practical, real-world strategies book. Douglas explores the power of reframing, seeing the world differently to achieve better results, and shows how, much like Steve Jobs once said about technology being a bicycle for the mind, we can harness smart tools and principles to accelerate success in every area of life. Whether you're curious about how to get the most out of your brain, structure a team for maximum impact, or even make your business faster, leaner, and more effective than industry giants, Wicked Smart is packed with accelerators and shortcuts that work in reality, not just in theory. Douglas, it's good to have you back on the Sandton Times Hour again.
Alex, a joy and a pleasure to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Douglas, how did you decide to pursue this particular topic for your latest book?
Alex, I wonder if you ever had it happen to you that, walking along, an idea pops into your head and you think someone should really do that. And then you kind of have that second of hesitation and realize, well, if not me, then who? This was classically one of those moments. I was exploring, for the sake of just an article that I was writing, I was exploring some of the cleverer breakthroughs, as you say, in behavioral economics. And thinking to myself, it'd make such a great book if someone would go to the time and trouble of simply aggregating all of the best ones into one place. And I stopped for a second and thought, I would love a book like that. And then, of course, that the little voice in your head, I argue with myself a bit like Gollum, says, well, why did you get on with that? And it occurred to me that it would make a fabulous piece for anyone who is upward trending in their lives, someone who wants to improve their efficacy in just about any area. And see, the problem with this is that there have been breakthroughs in worlds like leadership, in areas like how to plan a project, how to be more effective socially, things of that nature. But no one has ever put them all together. And this was an attempt to do exactly that. And what I've tried to do here is to ruthlessly strip the book of all waffle and get straight to answers. So it's how to be better at just about everything that we face on a daily basis.
So one of the big things that you focus on is reframing. And I mean, I've got my own idea of what reframing is, but maybe you can take us through what you mean by reframing and why it's so powerful.
Reframing is really the key to it's the heart and soul of this book. So there's a famous experiment called dog and bone, and that captures the heart of this thing. Imagine a dog who sees a bone on the other side of a fence, and that represents his goal. He tries to push the fence, he tries to dig under the fence, he tries to scratch at the fence. Nothing works. Now, the dog believes that he has a problem of distance because he's standing so close to the bone, it's within reach if he could just get through the fence. Now, the reframing goes, it is not a problem of distance, it is a problem of access. And that is an entirely different way of looking at the same set of dynamics. If he had to take a step backward and look up and down the fence, he might realize that a few steps away there's a gate, and he can simply trundle through the gate, walk over, and pick up the bone. It would be incredibly easy for him to get to his goal, but not if he persists in the way that he's attempting to do. So reframing is really just the art of looking at your problem differently. And Einstein argued for this one, in fact, quite passionately. His argument was that breakthroughs were generally not the result of new knowledge. That is an outcome. The new knowledge tends to be a result. He argued that breakthroughs tend to be a result of a new way of conceiving of a problem. And he wrote quite extensively about the essentially very simple idea that if he had to solve a complex problem, the most of his energy and effort would go into defining the problem. Now, that is the first of what we might call our 80-20 Pareto principles. We tend to get on the wrong side of this. We go straight into action mode. We try to do a thing the way we have always done it. If we flip that around and we spend 80% of the time conceiving of the problem differently, that opens doors for us. And that is the heart and soul of really all of the principles that we cover. How are you looking at the problem you're trying to solve? Change the way you look at it, and all of a sudden, the bone on the other side of the fence becomes eminently available to you.
Douglas, because you're also in the speaking space, I mean, the great thing about writing a book is that it actually forces you to distill your thoughts and to really critically analyze some of the content and some of the stuff that makes up, the base of the book, and obviously at some point maybe even a talking engagement or speaking engagement. What are some of the things that you took out of this book once you sort of sat down with this for weeks and months and had to sort of put it all together to disperse with other people? Is there anything that stuck with you where you went, I never really thought about it that way?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I've actually changed certain habits in my life. One of them is just a very simple one. We start with looking at things that are good for the brain, things that are bad for the brain. And one of the best things for the health of the human thinking mechanism is long walks. And it's as simple and as obvious as that, but we tend not to do it. So I have built a simple little philosophy that has a heuristic into my daily approach to life. And it's as simple as this. It's way more steps. So every day, if I'm facing either a lift or a set of stairs, I will take the stairs. If there's somewhere that I want to go, I will try to see if I can walk there. I walk the long way around parks. I walk the long way around parking lots and so forth. And it does several things. The first is it ups your fitness levels. It adds up remarkably over time. And the second is it does incredible things for the brain. Now, again, it sounds so simple, but the number of chemical things that change in the human mind with the simple heuristic way more steps is literally life-changing. So that's just a simple example of one that I've added to my world. And the book spans things that are simple on one side, like how many people should you have on the ideal team? How do you take care of your brain health? How do you get more sleep? How do you get promoted at work? And then it goes all the way to the far end of the scale and asks questions like, how did Elon Musk get a rocket out into space 10 times faster and 10 times cheaper than NASA was ever able to do it? And the answers to that are very simple, but unbelievably powerful. And that's the kind of range that I've tried to include here. So regardless of whether you're trying to simply get ahead at work in your career, socialize more effectively, or get a rocket to Mars more effectively than NASA, the principles are all there. And they're not my ideas. This is, as I said, an aggregation of all the best ideas. Now, I'll just give you a very simple example of that one.
Yeah.
There was a wonderful stat that I came across from a meta study of all human projects. And the guy who ran this thing, he subsequently wrote a book called How to Get Big Things Done. And he concluded that 8.5% of projects, of all human projects, were completed on time and on budget. And that means that 91.5% of all projects fall afoul of one of those two marks. They're either late or they come in over budget. And he makes a very simple observation on this because he's got this meta study to kind of look at all of this data. He says, our problem is we tend to think fast and act slow. And he argues that projects don't go wrong. They start wrong. So to solve that, we should think slow and act fast. And it's exactly what Einstein observed. He says, if you've got a complex problem or a massive project to undertake, don't rush straight in with the way you've always done it. Take 80% of your time for the thinking, the planning, the defining, and the last 20% is the action. Now, this gentleman who's put together this meta study says that this is measurably correct. If we did it this way around, most human projects would come in on time and under budget. Now, that is remarkably simple, but unbelievably powerful.
Well, if you found that fascinating, award-winning speaker and author Douglas Kruger has his latest book out on the shelves. It's called Wicked Smart, Brilliant Ways to Do Just About Anything Better. It's available on all good bookstores and, of course, online. And we'll also put some more information up on the Sandton Times website, www.sandtontimes.co.za. And Douglas Kruger, it's been great to reconnect with you again.
Lovely chatting with you again. Thanks for your time.
You're listening to the Sandton Times Hour.
Cop and a Half is a new movie released on Amazon Prime, or is it Prime Video? No idea. It'd be great if someone from Amazon could actually communicate that, or communicate at all. But having said that, this movie is set in the heart of Johannesburg, where a mismatched duo takes the crime-fighting scene by storm in a South African action comedy. When a by-the-book cop is reluctantly paired with a smooth-talking informant, sparks fly as they navigate the treacherous underworld of drug trafficking. With this unlikely camaraderie, they pursue a ruthless gang of drug dealers, leaving chaos and laughter in their wake. And this past week, I donned my Sunday best and joined the cast and crew at the red carpet premiere of Cop and a Half, the South African buddy cop movie produced by Cheeky Studios, starring Jonathan Boyton, Lee Trevor Gumbi, Jack Devnarain, and many other local faces. I sat down with Yusuf Stevens, the founder and CEO of Cheeky Studios, at the premiere and asked him what it's taken to get to this final release of the movie.
All of my hair, actually. When I started this project, I had full head of hair. I'm joking. A lot of hard work, dedication, a team that you can trust and rely on, a lot of talent, a lot of blood, sweat and tears.
How easy and how hard is it to produce a movie in South Africa?
To be honest, it's still quite hard. I always look at it as, we had our own challenges, right? Because we come from media. It's not like we're new to media. But this was our first film. So very, very different to how we do TV and commercials and things. It's quite a challenge, access to funding and those types of resources, it's still quite difficult. So we'd love to see that change. We'd love to be and to see more support for producers, for storytellers. Yeah, just make it more accessible, make funds more available. There needs to be more done to get authentic South African stories out there.
Having come from such a strong media background, why the decision to go into film and into movies?
I guess it's us pivoting to a way to a certain extent, and in another way it's opportunity. So, when you look back 10 years, film was very different to how it is now. Anything scripted, in fact. So, if you were Leon Schuster, you were making money, and then there were a lot of independent films who, there just wasn't support. So into the streamers, I think that they've changed the game. They play a very big role in the industry. Yeah, all of a sudden the economics make a little more sense.
Well, I'm glad you touched on the streamers, because that was one part of the business that I was also trying to understand a bit better. Because back in the days, you'd have a producer, they'd raise some funds, they'd take a punt on a movie, it would do either really well, and they'd pay out whoever had faith in them, or they'd take a loss and take a knock and maybe never do another movie again. Now with the streamers, has that risk element been taken away? I mean, do the streamers come along and say, listen, we're going to give you some money, if it fails, it's on our shoulders, you're still going to get paid for what you do? Is it as simple as that, or is it a little bit more complex?
Yeah, it's not quite that simple. I think the economics have changed more than the process. So you still need someone to look at your project. They'll do a risk analysis, they'll do the feasibility and all of that. But because of the streamers, we now have more data. So, we've got actual kind of minutes and hours watched, which helps inform decisions. It's still not as simple as, you just go knock on Amazon's door and they write you a nice check. We had to self-fund this film. Coming from TV, we were typecast. With the TV guys, you want to make a commercial? No problem. These are your guys. But film, what do you guys know about film? So for us, and I guess for many people, it's still there's a long process that the streamers kind of put you through. But I do think that with the streamers having access to the data they have, they are seeing, and it's why they're here. They wouldn't be here if it wasn't commercially viable for them. That there's a need for authentic stories. And we've got so many talented, authentic storytellers here. And most of them, unfortunately, don't get a chance. And we want to help change that, by the way. We went in, kind of green. And we paid a lot of private school fees. And, we're sharing our learnings and the process that we went through.
That data you speak of, how much does that influence or determine the narrative or the story? I mean, is it as simple as saying, we're seeing people gravitate towards romantic comedies or action movies, that's why we need to follow that path?
I mean, I think that they look at the data and then they see what works. There's still a certain degree of guessing in it, I guess. It's not binary, it's not ones and zeros. Comedies, action, adventure, family, it changes. So the demand for each of those genres change based on what South Africans are consuming. Because we go to all of these conferences and we attend whatever we can in terms of the film festivals and the markets, and we often ask, what are you guys looking for? There is no clear-cut answer. They'll guide you and they'll say that, look, this genre generally works, and you can decide whether you're going down that road, because even the scripting process, it's not cheap. Like, you write a script and you rewrite it and you develop it, and a lot of work goes in before you kind of know whether the movie's going to get made or not. So I think that definitely a lot more data is available, but the guidelines in terms of what should you make as a filmmaker, it's not clear-cut.
What ideas did you have walking into this movie and this project that have been dispelled or changed since you've come out the other side and are now finally ready to show your movie? What are some of those learnings?
I thought it would be easier than it was. However difficult you think it is and however difficult people tell you it is, it's more difficult.
Which is probably a good thing, otherwise you would have never gone ahead with it, right?
Yeah, I mean, yes. I mean, like I say, it's interesting because the industry is still a little closed. You've got the filmmakers, a lot of people, a lot of the guys work with their guys. So in order for you to get a shot at making a film or directing or, working as a production manager, you need experience, right? But how do you get the experience? Because if you don't have experience, no one's willing to give you a chance because they want their production manager, their director. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're stuck in a bit of a loop. It's not easy. I don't want to discourage anyone. Like, this was very hard for us. And we persevered. So we encourage people to just break down those doors, one piece at a time. But be careful and plan and speak to whoever will speak to you, because the information will save you in the end.
What's one hope you have for your audiences that go and see this? What are you hoping they're going to take out of it?
I just hope that they celebrate the authentic South African story that's here. Like the talent, the cast, a lot of man-hour went into this. It's a combination of a lot of hard work. The talent is evident. I think that you'll love it. And I'm biased, but, just go watch the movie and then, love it, hate it. You'll love it, but even if you hate it, just watch it anyway.
That was Yusuf Stevens, the founder and CEO of Cheeky Studios and the producer of Cop and a Half, now streaming on Amazon Prime Video. I'm not sure. It's a South African action movie with possibly a touch too much graphic violence, blended with a fairly humorous plotline, and audiences might appreciate the familiar scenes and South Africanisms that are scattered across the movie. While the storyline might be a bit debatable, the production values and effort put into the production holds its own, and I look forward to seeing what else the studio has up its sleeves.
You're listening to the Sandton Times Hour.
Taking to the second half of the Sandton Times Hour, my name is Alexander Leipner, and if there was anything that sounded good during the show but you didn't get all the details, make sure to hop onto the website and check out the show notes, which we try and get up as soon as possible on www.sandtontimes.co.za. And you can get a detailed breakdown of pretty much everything that we've discussed during this week's hour, and a little bit more, a couple of links, a couple of extra reads, and obviously some media as well. But also, don't forget to check out the social media accounts at Sandton Times on your preferred social media platform, and you can also get some more videos and content there as well. Or make use of the WhatsApp line 084 Sandton. That's 084 726 3866. It's the exclusive Sandton Times WhatsApp line. And you can send through your voice notes, text messages, and so much more on there. And make sure to save it and make use of it in future. Now it's time to connect with Tat Wolfen, as we always do, to chat all things entertainment. And I already sort of teased to say that we're going to be talking about physical media. And I thought, just to position this conversation a bit, what are we talking about when we're talking about physical media? So we're talking about cassettes, DVDs, vinyls, all those things that you can actually hold and touch, and that we who would have been around over the last, half a century would probably be well familiar with. And this came about when I started having a discussion around photos and photography and vinyl. And I was just saying, if you want to look at a photo these days, you want to show somebody a holiday photo, or you want to just reference it yourself. Now you have to pull out your tablet or your laptop or your phone, and you have to sort of dig through 37,000 photos and videos and screen grabs and heaven knows what else you've got on your phone just to find those 3 to 5 photos that you want to show somebody from your last holiday or your last trip. And it's become such a mission that I've decided I'm going to go back to photo albums. I'm actually going to curate some photos, even if it's 10 pictures of each trip or experience, and put it into an album. So if you want to look at it, you can physically take it out and look at it. And the same thing with vinyls. There's a certain romance and a certain warmth and a certain something about having a vinyl, a record, an album that was just so brilliant. There's so many different ones we could probably refer to. And to be able to put it on and play it and listen to it from back to front without ads, without any sort of digital interference, I think there's something about it. And Tat, I have a feeling you might be agreeing with me.
Yeah, I certainly do, Alec. And actually, if you're talking about digital versus analog, LPs have really great fidelity, frequency range. And most MP3s and things that you hear of music these days just aren't there. But I suppose it's also that most people these days seem to have lower demands of music. People will listen to songs on their phones, these tiny little speakers on their phones. Whereas, I remember growing up, you'd want to buy a great hi-fi system with good speakers, and you always checked out the frequency response of the speakers and the amp. But there is a certain turning back to that, I think.
For sure.
And it's an interesting thing because people often say that it's a generational thing, and we're just a bunch of old farts that want to hang on to our old LP collection. And that's not necessarily true, because they are today in the States and in the UK, they are releasing new albums, brand new albums from brand new bands on LP for younger generations. It's not just us trying to hang on to our childhood, squeeze into the pair of jeans you had when you were 12 kind of thing.
Yeah, no, listen, there's definitely a resurgence of the platform, of the technology of that time. I mean, when I started doing a bit of digging now to start curating a bit of a vinyl collection for myself and build on the one I already have, I started seeing, Taylor Swift, Rihanna, Jay-Z, Eminem, all available on vinyl. Then even in South Africa, some of our Afrikaans singers, Carleen van Jaarsveld, Matthew Mole, available on vinyl. So they're not producing this because they've got nothing else to do, or they just want to fulfill their catalog. There's clearly a demand for these sort of things. And also, same thing coming back to photography. I managed to get hold of one of these Epson printers. It's a newer one that allows you to sort of print your own photos. And once again, they wouldn't be bringing out this sort of technology, because I'm sure there's tons of other things they could be doing, just because, they need to, add another printer to their lineup. People are clearly looking for an opportunity to bring back some sort of physical media. And maybe it's also got something to do with the South African context, where if your phone gets stolen, all your music, all your photos are gone. But if somebody breaks into your house, the last thing they're going to do is pick up your vinyl collection or take your photo albums and walk out with them.
Well, that's certainly a very good point. I didn't know, as a matter of interest, this is the first time I found out that local artists are actually bringing out LPs these days. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
But as you say, the last thing that anyone's going to steal is your photo album. And the thing is that people also don't realize they take pictures madly on their cell phones, and they don't realize that when they get their new cell phone, this cell phone's going to be shoved at the bottom of a drawer somewhere, or, it's going to end up getting lost in the junk of time. And those photos are then done and finished. I mean, I have some old albums of my parents when they were kids, so it's my parents and my parents' parents, really old photos. And I can open these albums and look at history. In 50 years' time, are your kids going to be able to pick up an album and see what you look like when you were a kid? Maybe in your case, yes. Will they know what the world looked like in the year 2025? Yes, there are fortunately some archivists, some photographers who are hopefully keeping some kind of record of what the world looks like. But family histories, family holidays, stuff like that, I've got these beautiful photos of my parents on their honeymoon taken on what was called 120 film, which is a very big negative. And I've scanned these pictures recently, scanned them off the negative. The quality is breathtaking. Honestly, they look like stills from a Hollywood movie of the 50s. The pictures are stunning. It also helped that my parents were two very good-looking people back then. But, that stuff, really, it's like a time machine. As you say, that magic and that warmth of picking up an album, picking up an LP, reading the sleeve notes, even CDs, it's got the artwork on it. It's already getting into a mood before you've even listened to the music. You're looking at the artwork, you're getting a feel of what that band is all about. It's part of a total experience. And human beings are also, we're tactile creatures. We obviously have senses such as our hearing and our sight, hopefully, but we also have things like touch and smell and stuff like that. So that tactile experience of picking up an album or a CD or a DVD or a Blu-ray disc, there's something about it. I mean, do you remember browsing in a video store?
Yes. Oh, you'd go there on a Friday.
And how much more fun was that than scrolling through on Netflix, sitting there with your remote control and scrolling?
Yeah.
And I'm happy to say that we still have two video hire outlets in Joburg that rent out DVD and Blu-ray discs. And, they'll have sections, so you'll say, like, today I feel like a Western. So you'll go to their Western section or their musical section or their classics. And they even have the latest movies as well. But I think there's something really cool about that. It's kind of adventurous. And you've got your wife across the other end of the store and she says, I feel like a musical. How about this one here? And she'll hold up the box and you're like, I was thinking of the good, the bad, and the ugly. But it's fun.
What I also think is amazing is that even though these technologies are so old, a lot of it has also now kept with the time. So if I look at the vinyl player, a friend of ours has got this really great vinyl player, but it's connected with Bluetooth to a Bluetooth speaker. So the principle of the technology remains the same, but it's kind of gone with the times. And I mean, the same now with this conversation around this Epson printer is that, you can take your phone, you can literally airdrop it, or you can connect it with Bluetooth, or you can put it on your computer, and you can print out photos as you want to, on demand, as many as you want to. And they've kind of made it so seamless that even though the printing technology has been around for ever and a day, they've obviously upgraded it and they've done those things. But they've kind of gone with the times in terms of what you have and what you want to do. You don't have to 15 cables running all over the place. And
yeah, my printer, which is also a photographic printer, sits in my studio, and my computer is in my dining room. And as you say, you use Wi-Fi or whatever. You just say, print this, and off it goes and does its thing, so you're not running cables or anything. So it is a mixture of old tech and new tech, so you're kind of getting the best of both worlds, aren't you?
Absolutely. Well, listen, Tat, I hope our conversation has sparked some appetite somewhere in South Africa or somewhere around the world. People maybe start thinking about this and might be digging up some old vinyl or some old cassettes. We're going to do all again and more entertainment-wise next week.
There's so much to be said on the topic still, and about streaming, etc., and how good is it actually. But I just also wanted to remind our valued listeners that I have a review coming up for a movie that's opening on Friday called The Roses. But there is a studio embargo on it. We're not allowed to say anything before Tuesday. So tomorrow on our website, sandtontimes.co.za, you will be able to see my review of The Roses. And I'm not allowed to say anything more. So look on the website.
Put it in your diaries. Alex. Go check it out. Cheers, Tat.
You're listening to the Sandton Times Hour.
Right, the next Opulent Model South Africa, or OMSA, wrapped up its 2025 season at the Sunbet Arena in Times Square on the other side of the world in Pretoria, with the dazzling Prism theme celebrating transformation, diversity, and authenticity in the modeling world. Now, OMSA is a modeling and fitness platform partnering exclusively with top model worldwide in London and giving aspiring and established talent a safe professional stage to shine on. They've got categories ranging from runway and curve model to body transformation and fitness physique. It's a celebration of every kind of beauty and talent, they say. And all the way from Bryanston is Mich Letcher. She walked away with the title of Female Physique, and she stood out in the field of exceptional talent, impressing a star-studded judging panel that included icons from fashion, music, fitness, entertainment, and even law enforcement. I'm not quite sure how that fits in, but we'll find out. Mitch, congratulations on your big win at this competition, and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me on your show.
Well, Mitch, listen, congratulations once again. Maybe to kick things off, maybe you can give us a bit of an idea. What made you enter this competition?
Very interesting question. I had never heard of the competition. I went last year to watch one of my colleagues and fellow personal training friends who was in it last year. He ended up winning the men's overall body of the year, and he actually persuaded me to enter this year.
Okay, well, I think you've kind of given away that you're in this profession. So this is something that you do on a daily basis, helping other people also get in shape. Is that right?
That is correct. I've been in this industry for in excess of about 15 years. I worked for Garmin as their head of fitness and sponsorship for a couple of years. And then I just loved the field. I just started delving in the personal training side, did all the training, and eventually, long story short, ended up running my own little personal training business on the side.
Well, look, you've had a bit of a really good run-up to this competition, but I suspect that this took a little bit more than your usual efforts to get to a stage where you felt confident and ready to take on a competition like this?
Sure. I mean, look, I've been in this industry for long, and I was in the gym at the age of 15 with the boys. So I've always had a fairly good physique, always well trained, done a lot of competing in different sort of sports, but I've never been on stage in front of over 5,000 people. You know, I'm a very confident person, but I've had some big ops. I had a double disc replacement about 3 years ago, and I lost a lot of confidence for some reason. And so for me, getting onto stage and proving one that, you know, no matter what your setbacks are, you actually, just by putting one foot in front of the other, you can reach for your goals. The other thing was that I actually was the oldest female in this competition. And so for me, I'm doing a big run and a big sort of program for menopausal women. And I wanted to inspire women that age is a number, and you know what? Anyone can do anything. So the fact that a 54-year-old won the female physique category is, for me, quite a shock. But proving to others that, sure, you know what? Just go out and do it.
Well, that certainly deserves an extra round of applause. But maybe you can give us a bit of a sense of what your training and preparation looked like in the build-up to this, into this event.
Sure. So I've never done bodybuilding, I've, as I said, but my training regime is very much functional. So I kind of did follow those lines, but I did get some friends in the personal training and bodybuilding field to assist me. Basically, my regime was 3 days on, 1 day off. I just find that my body recovers better when I give myself, you know, push 3 days hard, and then I give myself a little bit of a rest. The training was very, very intense. There was a lot of booty work, a lot of leg work. I'm quite defined upper body, so we did work on the upper body, but I had to spend a lot more time doing the lower body. But beyond that was the eating. The eating is 100% clean. I had specific macros, meaning protein, carbs, and fat, the numbers that I had to follow every day. They would go up and down according to where I was before leading up to the competition. It was grueling, to be honest. I think I started prepping from February. Anything well deserved is gonna need a bit of effort. So nothing comes easy, and you need to really put in the effort and commitment, dedication, and sacrifices that were made along the way.
So loads of discipline there, and I can just imagine that it could have and must have been very hard to try and stay on track. Was there anything specific that you were really looking forward to eating, or was there anything you were craving once the competition was over that you thought, wow, I've done it now, I've won this title, I deserve something lekker?
That's a funny question, and I'm not a very sweet sort of toothed person. So my go-to was a slice of ciabatta bread that had come out of the oven. So it had to be hot. There had to be loads of melting butter with a thin slice of cheddar cheese, and then a glass of bubbles. I absolutely love bubbles, so I had to have a glass of bubbles with that, because obviously you can't drink it all when you're training this hard. It messes up with your metabolism. So that was my go-to meal.
Mitch, it sounds like the meal of champions. Tell us, people listening now, obviously thinking about the warmer months literally around the corner, and thinking about maybe we should start making a bit of an effort to maybe get it together for December. Have you got one hot tip for people wanting to shape up and get the ball rolling on their own journey?
You know, they always say that summer bodies are made in winter. So having said that, though, the sooner you start, the better. There's a lot of people that have never trained. There's some people that train, but, you know, for me, just start. If you need some help, you got to contact people like myself and get professionals to help you along the way. But the most important thing for me is just start moving. But try and make healthy choices with your food, because at the end of the day, you can't outwork a bad diet. So you can train like a demon in the gym, but if you don't get your eating right, you're going to go nowhere.
Well, there you have it. Watch what goes onto the plate, and obviously then eventually ends up in your mouth, and you're halfway there, and then the training it makes it that much more fun and that much more easier. Mich Letcher, she won the female physique category at the Next Opulent Model South Africa, and Mitch, congratulations, and thank you so much for making time to be on the Sandton Times Hour.
Thank you very much for having me, and all the best to you people out there.
And that wraps another Sandton Times Hour for another week. And feel free to send through your questions or comments on email, editor@sandtontimes.co.za, on social media @Sandton Times, or hop onto the website, www.sandtontimes.co.za, or connect on WhatsApp, 084 Sandton. That's 084 726 3866 for your voice notes, text messages, and so much more. As always, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform and join the growing digital online community there. And thank you to all my guests who made the time to be on the show this week, as well as the team behind the scenes pulling it all together. Hugely appreciated. And of course, a very special thank you to you for listening. And God willing, we'll do it all again next week.
That's it for this week. Thanks for listening to the Sandton Times Hour. And if you enjoyed it, be sure to share it.